Hi, and welcome to the Mormon Meat Locker. We're your hosts, Cable the Party Jenkins and Caroline Kingsley. And tonight we have Ashley Peterson with us.
Hi, my camera's blurry, I apologize, but I'm here.
All right, Ashley,
Can you
why
tell
don't
us a
you
little bit? Sorry. Ashley, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know you just wrote a book and you do talks and whatnot, so tell us a little bit about who you are.
Okay, I just published my book, 7 Spiritual Keys to Healing from Heartbreak. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So I just published my book, and I give seminars based off my book, and I also do personal coaching and mentoring, working one-on-one with people that are healing from heartbreak or need some help with some goals or dreams that they're working on. I do some Passion Quest mentoring as well. So I work both with healing from heartbreak and also just moving forward on your dreams and your goals in life. So.
Perfect. I love that. And what was it that you wanted to talk about today?
Mostly, so in my seminars, I teach like a 2-day live event. It's a workshop that teaches all about your brain and like neuroscience and psychology and quantum physics and how your brain really works. And what I noticed from my students is that most people are really surprised to find out that they are like creators of their life and they're energetic beings. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that. Should I just keep
So
going?
tell me what that means. What is a creator of your life?
So first of all, like one of the concepts that I find people struggle with is that we are energetic beings and creators, and everybody and everything on this planet is made out of atoms, and atoms are made out of protons, neutrons, and electrons, right? So they're electricity. So we are electrical beings, and that's like why we're able to create our life and the experiences that we're having around us, because we're interacting with our energetic being and the energy of the things around us in life. That's how we pull things into our life. We attract experiences. And that's how we can change what we're attracting in our life, is by shifting our energetic vibration to a different level. That makes sense at all to you? You both look very confused.
No, I don't know too much about this stuff. I do believe in, I think we are all created from energy, and I don't know. I don't know how it all works beyond that, and what you focus on. I've always sort of felt like when you focus on something, it comes to you in a way that if you're focused on, say, certain goals and you're thinking about it more, you're more apt to act on it simply because it's on your mind. But do you think there's something more existential than that to it?
Right, well, that's exactly it, is that we are constantly creating things with our thoughts. So I drew my little diagram on the board. You can't really see it because my camera's fuzzy, so I'll just tell you what it says. But basically, this is a 2-day workshop in 20 minutes, so I'm trying to give you content that makes sense, but is actually really in-depth because it's usually taught in a lot more time. So because we're energetic beings, like I already established the fact that we're made out of atoms, and atoms are energetic, so there's really no disputing the fact that you're an energetic person. And because this is an LDS podcast, I'll touch on that. We're children of God, who is the master creator, and we're here on this earth to learn to be creators ourselves. So we're the creators of our own life, and how we create things is with our thoughts. So every day we have 50 to 70,000 thoughts that are going through our mind, and every time a thought triggers, it sends an electrical impulse out into the world. Like literally, you think a thought, it causes an electrical reaction, which is called an action potential in your brain, and that thought goes out and sends out a vibration to the universe, and that's how you attract things into your life that you're vibrating at the same level at. So again, it's kind of an in-depth topic to cover in 5 minutes, but the underlying theme of it is that your thoughts create what you experience, because your thoughts, when those action potentials are triggered in your brain, it triggers your hypothalamus to stimulate the production of certain hormones and chemicals, and those hormones and chemicals that are bathing your neurons in your brain, those are the vibrations that you're sending out constantly. And those vibrations are attracting experiences that match that into your life. It's like magnets. It's going to attract the same frequency into your life. And basically, because of our emotions, that's how we choose our actions and our behaviors. How we're feeling about ourselves and how we feel about our environment is what we're acting upon. And when we're making actions and choices, those actions and choices they create experiences, or they have consequences, positive or not desirable consequences. are based off those actions. And so then you're having this experience which causes you to have a certain emotion, and then it triggers a certain thought, and it just goes in this circle of thoughts, emotions, actions, experience, emotion, back to thought.
So if we know that our thoughts are having a physical reaction or a physical consequence on our bodies, and an actual, it might change, what's going out, what you're putting out there. What can you do to have a better outcome then on your physical body, on your destiny, on your life? What could we do to take a little bit more control over our lives?
Basically, you can interrupt this cycle anywhere. So the easiest thing sometimes to control is your thoughts. So you can change your thoughts, which will change your emotions, which will change the way you behave, which will change your experience and change the whole thing of what you're creating. Or you could choose to change your behaviors. You can choose to focus on your body language, for example, or the message that you're sending out non-verbally to the world. You can change that instead of thoughts. You can start with changing your emotions. You can choose not to have those negative emotions. When you start to spiral down into that, oh, poor me, pitiful, guilt, whatever negative emotion you don't want to be in, you can choose to combat that using declarations that maybe people haven't heard of that. Declarations or affirmations are the kind of like I am statements that you're going to make to the world. So I am successful, I am kind, I am loving. Whatever is the opposite of that negative thought that you're thinking in your mind, which is creating that negative emotion, that's what you want to change. So you start thinking different thoughts, and when you think different thoughts, you have different experiences in life.
Okay, that's interesting. So how have you seen this help you in your life?
So it's just changing a lot. So my story is in my book, and chapter 1, chapter 2 talks all about my story, so I'm not going to get super into it. If you want to learn more about it, the book will be available. But the brief story is I got married at 23. I got married at 22. I was divorced at 23. And then I had another relationship that was 3 years long, and it ended really, really dramatically. And it was only after that second experience that I was like, I'm 26. This has happened to me twice. Like, not the same thing, but a failed relationship nonetheless. I'm like, how do I create something different? And so that's when I delved into finding out about neuroscience and the science behind the law of attraction and quantum physics and the energetic universe and how everything works. And I figured out that because I was the common denominator in both those relationships, not saying it was all my fault or I was the one doing everything wrong, yet I was the one that was the same in both of them. So that meant that I needed to change something. And so I started learning how to change and how to do things differently so I could have different experiences. And that's what I teach people, like how to change your experience, because I didn't want to have a third failed relationship that ended miserably. Like, that was not my goal in life. And I don't think that's anyone's goal, to repeat patterns over and over, especially patterns that are negative and that are not what we want. We don't want to keep repeating the same experience. So that's really what this is all about, is learning how to break that cycle and create a new thing in your life and have a new experience.
Well, and I think that's what this world is about, this life is about, is we know that we're here to learn, and we probably will have the same or similar experiences, or maybe even different experiences to teach us the same thing. And until we learn it, we're just going to continue to fall into the same pitfalls. And it's good to be cognizant of, like you said, it might not necessarily be something that you're doing, but there might be something that you can do to maybe avoid that situation or not get into that situation. And the more cognizant you are and aware of yourself, because we can always improve. We can always, and I totally agree with what you're saying as well, that talking yourself out of negative thoughts is such a big thing. And not necessarily even combating them the moment you get them. Sometimes I think it's okay to realize that life is really hard, and sometimes you're going to feel terrible about something, and I think sometimes it's okay to just allow yourself, rather than always trying to push things away, allow yourself to feel things, because otherwise you're kind of denying that. And then, but you need to get to a point where you can start to have that healing process of, sometimes I'm going through something and I'll just be like, even if I don't believe it in the moment, I'll say out loud, I'll be like, I'm so glad that even though maybe this one person said something negative about me, You know, because we know that like the one person will say something and that's all we'll think about. It just becomes huge in our minds. But I'll be like, you know, even though this one person says something negative, I'm so glad that I have so many friends who are so supportive and that love me and whatnot. And that's just one example of something I'm able to do to kind of change that thought process and that those dangerous patterns of thought.
Right, and I agree with what you said. Like, of course, life's hard, and that's why we're here to have challenges to get better. But like you were saying, a lot of times we're experiencing similar scenarios, like the same thing in a different package, and that's where you need to step in and take the learning from that experience, so that you're not having to repeat it to learn the same lesson that you maybe could have learned the first time instead of the third time it happened. And so that's kind of what it's about, is taking responsibility for that. And of course, you're not going to be happy and go lucky all the time. Things happen, and it's an unfortunate experience sometimes, and you don't want to be super excited about crappy things. But what I'm trying to get across is the more you dwell in that, the more people choose to dwell in that negative state of mind or the depressing thoughts or whatever, the more you're actually solidifying your neural networks to have that experience over and over. And the more you solidify those neural networks, the more your brain produces receptor sites for that hormone that is attached to that thought. So if you're thinking happy thoughts over and over, your brain's creating more receptor sites, just like it does with anything, like any kind of food addiction or any kind of thing. It's an emotional addiction. You can either choose to have a lot of receptor sites for positive, supportive thoughts, or you can choose to have a lot of receptor sites for negative thoughts by replaying those over and over. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that absolutely does. And I love hearing about how your thought process does affect your brain. I think it's interesting to think that we do have some control over maybe the future of how we kind of think things through, how things impact us. One thing I heard recently that I think is interesting is that we all kind of have our happiness baseline level. And what you're saying, and I'll get back to that a little bit more, but I wonder with what you're saying is if we have the ability to kind of change that baseline level based on continuing to improve our thought process so that we don't kind of get stuck into a lower rut of thinking and because I think we do have that control. You would like to think that we aren't just stuck at one base level that we're born with, that we can maybe improve on that. But one thing that was said in this thing I listened to was that even though we have that baseline, like we all tend to think if this great thing happens, like, oh, I'm just going to be so happy. And you think that it's just going to change your life. You know, you're the promotion or, you know, I won the lottery, whatever. That the guy, you know, I can, you know, go out with or whatever, right? And so you think it's going to change everything and you're going to be so much happier. And at the same time you think, oh my gosh, if this happens, you know, I lose my job, you know, what if this relationship falls apart. We all know a lot of us have gone through divorce, and you think that you're going to be devastated for, you know, ever. It's gonna ruin everything, and you'll never be happy again. And they say that it's true that you will have those peaks and you will have those valleys based on things that happen to you, but it's always temporary, and you always come back to the same baseline. And they said it's kind of important to have that, because what if we all realize that, you know, if we go through this terrible event, say a divorce, that we're actually going to be okay on the other side. We're actually going to be able to, and we know, you know, you've gone through divorce, I've gone through divorce, and I consider myself really happy right now. Like, I wish it wouldn't have happened. You know, I wish that things could have gone a different way, but I'm actually really happy. And not to say I don't have my challenges and stuff I deal with, but they said the reverse is.
Uh-oh.
Looks like we lost Caroline for a minute, but
That's gross.
I think that part of what she's saying is true. You know, I had an experience a couple years ago where I was talking to a friend, and she was asking how things were going, and there'd been a bunch of things that had happened within a couple weeks. You know, and it was kind of not good things, right? Bad things to me.
Right.
So
Struggle.
she was asking how it's going, and I said, oh, well, this is happening, and this, and this, and this. And I said, but other than that, life is great. And she's like, isn't that kind of hypocritical? And I was like, no, because to me, we can choose our happiness in life by our attitude, you know. And it's like you said, I didn't dwell on all those negative things that happened. Yeah, they happened to me, and I dealt with them, and then I put them out. And
Right.
I decided to dwell on the positive things. And then for me, I've come across as a happier person, which to me, like, that brings more happiness into my life when I'm happy. And so I think you're right. Like, it depends on what thoughts are you dwelling on. Are you dwelling on the negative thoughts, or are you dwelling on the positive thoughts? And when you
Right.
dwell on the positive thoughts, you tend to bring more positivity into your life, and that's where you can really improve things. You can change. You can get out of the rut of those negative things and get into the rut of the positive things, if you will. And, like Caroline said, you have your happiness baseline, and I feel like you can bring that up if you want to, so that instead of being here, maybe it's here. And even when you hit your negative things and you drop down, you're going to come back up to there, because that's where you've conditioned yourself to be.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, people feel like victims in life, like things just happen to them. I hear it all the time. And life's just beating them up, but that's not necessarily how it has to be, or even really true. Like, we create the experiences that we have, and sometimes we create things that aren't great, and it's not like we purposely go out and try to have bad things happen. It's just part of life, and it's also part of the fact that we're human and we don't always think positive, high emotions and thoughts about what we want. Sometimes we are sad, and that unfortunately that message gets sent out to the world too. But it's exactly what you're saying. Like, you're not just born with a certain level and then you're doomed to be there forever. That's the whole point. There's a ton of research going on right now in the neuroscience world, and between the body, mind, soul connection. Like, it's hot right now. There's tons of things I could share. I just don't have the time. But the point is, you get to move up the level to wherever you want to be. Like, you don't have to be miserable. You don't have to be depressed. You have some control over that. You have control over the chemicals that you're creating in your body and in your mind that are shaping your world. Basically, your personality equals your personal reality. Whatever that's what Joe Dispenza always says. He's a very well-known neuroscientist. But what we think and how we feel, that's what's creating our environment and our surroundings. And it is true that we get to move our happiness level from here to here to here and continually go up. And when those little things happen, we go down a little bit, but we don't bottom out. We go continually up, forward, and higher, and we have the control over that.
And I like what you were saying as well, Cable, that you'll have this going on in your life, but you remain happy. And I noticed that people like you, Cable, that people pivot towards joy, people pivot towards light. And you're one of those people, Cable, that people will pivot themselves towards and want and be drawn towards. And so you literally will bring people into your life. You will bring those positive people into your life because they're drawn to that positivity. And I think you have to be real. Like, no one wants, someone that's always fakely happy-go-lucky. I think it's good to be authentic. I think it's fine to say, you know what, I've had a crappy day. This is going on. But I think when you do have that inner joy, it still exudes, and anyone who's read my blog knows that, like, I will have these nights of, I'll just crumble, and I will, think everything is going wrong and everything is terrible about me. And I kind of allow myself to sort of, without getting too crazy about it, to sort of feel that grief over whatever I need to. And I seek the support of my friends. But then the next day, I'm ready to pick myself back up, and I make new plans, and I feel optimistic and full of joy, and I'm like, I'm going to make this happen. And it's that important, being able to pick yourselves up by the bootstraps and realize that, it's human. It's human to go through these things, and it's okay. And it allows us to be able to understand each other when each other is going through those as well.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Like, I'm no way trying to imply that you don't need to feel your emotions, because actually that's a whole nother subject that we also don't have time for. But when you trap your negative emotions inside, they'll literally eat you from the inside out. There's tons of research being done right now on the links between cancer and diabetes and all sorts of awful diseases and emotional connections to those. So in no way do I think people need to stuff them. I have tons of techniques that I teach my clients and tons of ways to remove those negative emotions. The main thing is just not dwelling on them, not feeding your brain that same sad, depressed, whatever hormone, but feeling the emotion, letting it out, saying what you need to say, doing what you need to do, and then letting it go. And moving on to happiness and making that be your focus and focusing on what you want to create instead of on the past. Because I notice a lot of people from divorce get really stuck on the past and what happened, and they're stuck in the negativity of those sad emotions and not moving forward because of that. So anyway.
No, I
I
agree.
wasn't implying that you thought, sorry, I wasn't implying that you were saying that you got to bottle it up, but
Right.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is I agree with that, and I think that we want to have positivity in our life, and when you put that positivity out, it's like Caroline was saying, so people will pivot to that, so people come to me and they're more positive because I'm more positive, and when they're more positive, then when I'm having a bad day, it's easy for me to be more positive. And so it's this snowball effect that we just feed off the positivity. I mean, I think you're going to feed off stuff, so either when you get negative, you feed off the negativity in your life, or you feed off the positivity. So if you can have more positivity in your life, and much like what you were talking about, Ashley, is all the neurons firing and all that kind of stuff. If those are all more positive than negative, you feed off that, then it's easier to remain positive and stay in that kind of frame of mind.
Right, and then you're attracting
the singles scene that I've seen, and everyone has different experiences, but I just see time and time again the amount of support and love that people show for each other. So it's not even like feeling positivity towards myself, but when I give that to other people, and I see so many people giving that to each other, I see so little cattiness, at least among the people that I know, and I feel like I know a pretty broad range of people, but people are just, the girls will be like, oh my gosh, you look so beautiful, and saying that, oh, you're so good at this, and I mean, that sounds really trite, it's more deep than that, but people are so complimentary to other people, and so supportive, and so full of love, and you are putting that out, and then you're getting that back, and then you're more apt to put it out to them and to other people, and I really love that about our little microculture that we have.
That's great. Well, we are getting close to time and need to wrap up. Ashley, are there any final thoughts you want to leave us with?
That was basically the main points I wanted to cover, like I said, in the short term. There's tons about the brain that's fascinating and that's so cool about how you can control and shape your life. And like I said, my book just came out. This is what the cover looks like. You can get it on Amazon, and then I also sell them. And I'm going to offer the book today to anyone who purchases it this evening from watching this podcast. You'll get it for $9.99. It's usually $19.99, so that's 50% off. And if you get it another time, it's found on Amazon. My website is www.freespiritedfaith.com, and that's where you can find out about all my live events and my mentoring and coaching. And I'm doing my next live event is January 8th and 9th. It's going to be a full 12-hour event, 3 hours Friday and a full day on Saturday. It's going to be teaching all about your brain, neuroscience, how you change your life, and how you can heal from heartbreak and move forward. So it'll be talking about all sorts of tools and information. And I'm also going to offer a $50 off price for people that sign up via this podcast or because of it. So how you'll do that is just PayPal me at freespiritedfaith@gmail.com, and we'll post that on the post he's going to make tomorrow, the information. But you'll want to write in their podcast, because normally that event, it includes the online course that I have that reviews the same information, and you'll get a ticket to the live event, the online course, and a guest pass for whoever you want to bring to support you, because it's important to have support. And normally that is $199. But I'm offering it to you guys for $149, but I need you to make a note in there and say this was from Mormon Meat Locker in order to have that discount on your registration. So
Great.
Everything's on my website.
Thanks, Ashley. We will post all that information in our group tomorrow, along with a link to this video. So look for that, and we'll have all the information on getting the discounts from Ashley as she works on getting this out there. Any final thoughts, Caroline, before we wrap up?
No, just thank you, Ashley. It was really fascinating, and I wish we did have tons more time, because we could have just gone on for a long time, and I'm fascinated and excited to talk to you on this side somewhere, so I want to know more.
Yeah, very cool. Well, thanks for having me on. Thank you guys so much, and it was a pleasure being here. I hope you guys learned something.
Thanks, Ashley. Appreciate it, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.